What's up, my brother? Thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for having me on.
You see that? Look, we're bearded brothers. We're bearded brothers.
We really brothers in this beer game right now. It is rough. Quarantine life, man, just woo. It's rough on us all, man. But you know what this means, man? This
What?
means we are in it together and we are taking care of each other. When I see somebody that got a fresh haircut, I'm like, you're not taking care of us right now. Like, so I'm kind of mad for two reasons. One, you're not keeping us safe, and then two, you fresher than me, and I don't like that. So
What do you mean? No,
no,
look.
I'm just talking about in general. When I see somebody with a fresh, we in it together, brother.
Oh, okay. You're
We
talking
good.
about the people
The
that are
other
just completely clean shaven.
fresh
They've got the line. They're just, it seems
with the
like they
white
have a
chalk.
hair salon in their
With the white
house.
chalk, you just left. You just left the chair.
Man, well, keep your hair growing out and allow it to grow through the rest of this football season. We'll get to it in a second because I want to know your opinion in terms of like what's going to happen. But I just want to let everybody know that's joining, not only from Stand Together, but also those that are joining from your IG account. Welcome to Stand Together Live. I'm Dhani Jones, Demario Davis. He's the man. He's a powerhouse on both on the field as well as off the field, and he's made an impact on quarterbacks as he's made impacts on social justice issues. And so we're going to get into a lot of the things that he's talking about. But there's real power in the world by helping others, and this is really what Stand Together Live is really all about. It's about bringing amazing people to offer everybody inspirations and nuggets of hope, especially during this time of COVID-19 and self-quarantine and the economic crisis. I mean, there's so many things that are happening to people. As I mentioned before, Demario's New Orleans linebacker. I remember those days. Hey, I don't think you went to training camp in Mississippi, but training camp in Jackson, Mississippi with New Orleans Saints, you want to talk about hot. So hot, it would melt your ankle braces off your leg. That's how hot it was. I don't know if you guys
Check this, man. When y'all were practicing at Millsaps, when the Saints was practicing at Millsaps, I used to go watch the practices, and I used to be sitting up in the bleachers, and you have shorts on, and those little gray bleachers would burn your leg. So I couldn't even imagine if somebody was out there on the field, and then to hear the stories, like all those war stories from all the Saints players,
Yes,
about like how the cleats would melt into the turf and stuff. Oh, listen, 100-degree heat is a cool breeze in Mississippi, man. It's bad, bro. So I can't even imagine, and now it's worse. So I can't even imagine like being in pads in Mississippi. I get it batted down in New Orleans in practice, so I can only imagine Mississippi.
do me a favor, tilt your camera down a little bit so we can see the main frame there. Just a look there is perfect.
That good?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to answer that question like that, because I don't think people believed me. When I was playing for the Saints, as I played for the Bengals and a couple other teams before that, and you had a little bit of a similar story, getting drafted by one team, going to another, then kind of finding a friction point, and then finally finding home. I think it's there's so many things that we have in common.
Yeah.
But 2019, all pro, which, and a captain twice over. So I gotta give you big ups for that.
Thanks.
And you lead by example, as I said before. So as we go through, I want you to talk about your life and really appreciate you joining the show. So for everybody that's joining, remember, we're doing all this for hashtag Give Together Now. And we're really raising money for those that are truly struggling and families that are in need. There's a lot of people that are out there that are suffering. There's a lot of people out there that have been going through it. And so I want to give you guys an actual update. I'm looking at my computer screen right now in terms of how much money we have raised up until this point. The exact number, I'm looking at the screen, $43,935,300. And Demario, this entire platform, this entire conversation is helping distribute $500 to families that are in need. And the amount of families that we've affected up until this point is 87,871 families, which will receive $500 checks. So know that we don't take your time for granted, and we don't take anybody's contributions for granted, because all the money goes directly to the families. And wanted to let everybody know, if you can't give money, and we know some people can, it's also incredible to give acts of kindness. And so if you give an act of kindness, we will also contribute $500 to families. Oh, my mom's on. Hey, Mom. There you go. I had to give my mom a shout out.
For sure.
So if you can give money, go to gettogethernow.org. Otherwise, post a video or photo doing an act of kindness in your community on social media and use hashtag #GiveTogetherNow. And then Stand Together will see your post and then give direct cash donations to families. So whether you do a video chat with someone who lives alone, if you get sewing masks, or just making a sign of support of healthcare workers, that's just as important. So everybody can give a contribution in some way, shape, or form. But Mario, this is really all about you. So I appreciate it again.
No, man, that's cool, man. Just to add in on that, man, it's really a blessing for me to, as I think to all the organizations that I'm connected to or affiliated with, you know, United Way and all the millions that they've raised, the NFL, they've raised, you know, 100 million, and now talking with Stand Together, who play a coalition and Stand Together or working in partnership together, just to see like how much resources are being raised, and then not just being raised, but being distributed and helping people in a quick turnaround process. You know, this is something unique for our entire world. Probably once unique, you know, probably like a once in a lifetime type of thing, but to see like how many people are taking it and making the most out of it has just been amazing. And so, not like you said, not just from a resource standpoint, you either got time, you got talent, or treasure. So
yes,
resources or treasures, but you also have time, like donating your time to bring more awareness, to help people using their talent. I saw a friend of mine who is a psychologist, and she's just making random phone calls to people just to help them kind of process this.
That's an act of kindness.
It is.
That's an act of kindness.
Yeah.
If she just posts or somehow shows that image of her making that phone call, that's where we can really sort of reflect that in hashtag #GiveTogetherNow and give someone $500. This is what we talk about from Stand Together, and you know that from Stand Together's Relationship Player Coalition. It's about creating a win-win scenario, right? It's not about smash and grab and take for yourself. We're all in this together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely. That's what it's about. So it's cool. It's cool to see the genuineness in human beings that are actually coming out. Everybody's having to have time to be slow and reflect, and not just think about like take, like what can I get, but what can I give? And everybody's helping each other. You know, like people who are going online and, you know, showing people workouts. So people going online and showing like, hey, this is the homeschooling tips that we do. You know, different things. You're seeing everybody kind of use different gifts and different acts of kindness to help. You got people who doing the food banks that are out there on the front lines distributing food, because a lot of people are having to go to food banks that normally didn't have to go to food banks. So it's a lot that's going on just around the world in general. That's kind of amazing to see.
Well, you just threw out that word gifts, and you have so many of them that I'd love for everybody that's watching right now to hear about. But let's go back to sort of your origins, right? Your mother had you when she was 16. What was your household like growing up?
Oh man, Mom Dukes, man, I could talk all day. Man, when you think about moms, everybody has most people have strong connections to their mom. And that bond is just very unique. But when you come from kind of that ghetto urban background, it kind of takes on a different connotation, because a lot of those moms are raising you by themselves. And me being the only child, it was just me and her. And my mom sacrificed everything. She had me at an early age, and she was still in high school and still had to finish high school and college. So she sent me with my grandma while she finished school. And then as soon as she finished school, she came back and got me. And it was just me and her. And, you know, trying to raise a young boy, it's a lot of tussles. But my mom always worked at least 2.5 jobs.
Wow.
And so, like, I used to see her, like, come in at nighttime, like, just tired and wore out. And, like, as a young boy trying to process that, you like, man, what can I do to help? Like, I want to alleviate some of that burden off of her. And so as a young boy, it kind of make you grow up a little bit faster. But my mom still made sure I was able to stay a kid. Anything I wanted to do, like be around friends, be around sports and stuff, she used to make sure that I stayed active and I was safe. But I just wanted to alleviate that burden. So I'd be washing dishes, trying to cook dinner. Didn't really know how to cook, but I'd be in there trying to whip up a meal out I throw in a couple of microwave dinners and put it out. Like I'd be setting the napkins and the drink down. Like me and Mom, we finna have dinner, you know. And so just to alleviate that, and so like that's why so many cats that come from that background, especially in sports, be like, you know, first thing I'm gonna do is take care of moms. I'm gonna buy my mom the house. I'm gonna buy the car. That's
Right.
what it really comes from. It's just because you've been wanting to alleviate that burden off their shoulders. Because that single mom is that single mom lifestyle is just hard. Like they working, sacrificing for their kids. She's trying to keep the lights on for me, keep me. You know, we're in an apartment to a little bit bigger house in the hood. We moved eventually by the time we was in high school, we moved to a little more suburban area. But she was doing all that to make sure that I could have the best. And it was crazy. Like when I hit the league, my mom still couldn't turn off like that overdrive. I'm like, Mom, you can chill now. Like,
Right.
we good. But I mean, she still was in that. And that's just kind of like what that lifestyle kind of had did. But it also like taught work ethic to me. So I mean, it was some rough days, man. I mean, I was a hard-headed kid, you know, but my mom held on. I wasn't like some of my friends who, a lot of people, when, you know, that tug of war, by the time you hit 16, 17, you know, moms have to put them out because they can't take it. Like my mom was going down, like she was struggling, trying to hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just a young boy, you know, living in that environment, trying to become a man is different. And so, but I mean, Mom Dukes, that's my lady love right there, man. So
Well, if she's in the room and she's watching, you know, from wherever, you know, hopefully we can give her
she's definitely in the room. She ain't gonna
we can hopefully give her a shout out. So if you see her name scroll through, my mom's Doc Nancy, so I know she's in the room. But if your mom comes in the room, make sure you give her a shout out. And that's, I want to ask you what meals you made, because I can only imagine the type of things you could put together.
Listen, I had a few dishes, brother. I had a few dishes. Look, I can make some 5 Polish sausages. I can make some 5 TV dinners, and I can make some mean hamburger helper. Them little quick meals.
All you need is a pan and a microwave. So look, you can get through anything.
The fried bologna sandwiches. That was my mom's favorite. So I knew how to make those. She loved fried bologna sandwiches. So I used to make it, as you know, like, you know, mayo on one side, mustard on the other. So I had them things already sliced and diced when she come through the door.
So look, I know you all probably had some good meals, but at the same time, even though your mother was tired, she also, as well as your grandmother, looked after you, even though it might have been difficult at certain times.
Yeah, I'm forever grateful for the time I got to spend with my grandmother in that raising, because that's where all the principles I feel like I learned came from. Like my mom was the last of 10 kids. My grandmother had 10. And so by the time my mom came through, the reason why she kind of fell into that, my grandmother and grandfather, they were older. And so she was kind of like on her own a little bit. And that's kind of like what ended up happening. But going back to my grandmother was a very religious woman. I remember at nighttime, I used to go by her room. She'd be in there on her knees praying. And if she saw me like peeking around the corner, she'd be like, come in here. And she'd make me like read the Bible.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my grandmother, I probably was 4 or 5 years old. I already knew how to sweep. I already knew how to wash dishes. I already knew how to clean up after myself. Like I knew right versus wrong. She taught me a good understanding of who God was. So even when I got into my trouble, I never could get too far away until college, where I ended up coming back around. But all that foundation came from my grandmother.
But all that cleaning the house and all that good behavior, there was also some bad behavior that was also a part of that struggle too.
Oh yeah. Now my grandma used to whoop us bad. It was me, my cousin, 2 of my cousins. My grandma used to have to whoop us pretty bad. But for the most part, I knew right from wrong. So I wouldn't get in too much trouble. The trouble kind of came in once I hit teenage years. That's when the real struggle began, because when you growing up in that urban environment where there's, you know, weed on every corner, the cats you hanging with, you know, they uncles and they brothers got guns, they gang affiliated, you know, in that environment, you can't be soft. So you almost have to adapt. And if I didn't have a male figure around to tell me, hey, you don't have to go that direction.
Right.
You can, that's not what it means to be a man. So all the guys around me, I'm thinking this is what it means to be a man. And so that's when the fighting start fighting, you know, drugs get involved, parties get involved, and you start just getting in a lot of mischief. And that's where it started to deviate. And so that's when the tussle with me and my mom's kind of came in. But up to that point, about the most trouble, before I hit 7th, 8th grade, probably the most trouble I got in was just being a class clown, just because I talked a lot. Teacher would tell me to sit down. I wanted to make the class laugh. So I crack a joke on the way to my seat. She'd be like going to get in the hall. That was about the most trouble I really got in. But once I hit 8th grade and the adolescent years started kicking in, I started looking at my older cousins like, oh, I want to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing stuff that I definitely shouldn't have been doing.
And even so, there was an incident that happened in high school that kind of set you back, that put you on a different sort of path. And then football came in, and then going to Arkansas State, there's some other incidents. So I'd love for you to take us through that, because I think one of the things that I'm sure you'll tell us that you learned is that you do have value, right? And that you do have a unique gift. And that's what allowed you to propel yourself through football. But talk about the incident in high school, and then talk about what happened when you got to college, and talk about the person that really made an impact in your life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's so kind of that rising action of the story. Like, you see me kind of come out of that, school, just being a class clown, but then the adolescence kick in. So I kind of fell into that lifestyle hard. The first time I started doing drugs was ninth grade, the summer after my 9th grade year, or before my 9th grade year. Started, going to clubs and, doing all that, just running with an older crowd that I shouldn't have running with, just looking up to those who were around me, and nobody to set me straight. Well, that kind of sped up. And then my sophomore year, I ended up getting expelled from school. I got expelled from school when me and one of my friends tried to take a wallet from a kid, and he ended up wanting to press charges. And they expelled me from the school, so I had to go to alternative school. And one of the principals was there. He was a new principal, and he said, he's a good kid. He's just running with the wrong crowd. So he stuck his neck out for me. But I mean, I was caught up, so I just kind of waved it off. Like, I'm all right. Well, I was still doing this. So me and my friends, we were out one night, and we were breaking in abandoned buildings, just like shut down buildings, nobody there, just going through, just doing crazy stuff. And I cut my arm on the glass, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I ran home. My mom was still awake. And the first thing she did, I was like, Mom, we got to go to the hospital. She saw my arm, and like tears just dropped down her eyes so fast. She was like, I knew something was wrong. I could feel it. I couldn't sleep. So that's the type of stuff that I was taking my mom through. Like I said, it was a struggle. But when I was on the table and I was getting stitched up, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I hear this audible voice, like, this strike two. Strike two. And I'm like, strike two? What do you mean strike two? What was strike one? Strike one was getting expelled from school. Strike two, like, now I almost lost my life. Because, I mean, it's a deep gas to steer here today. And if it would have been a few inches shorter, it's like here. A few inches lower, it would have cut my wrist and I've been gone. But that kind of straightened me up. I mean, it straightened me up so much my junior and senior year. Like, if you look at my slate, it was straight clean. I would go to school, go to practice, and come home. I'm like, I ain't finna play with God. Like, because I just felt like strike three was either death or jail. And God didn't lie about that. So fast forward, I ended up getting a scholarship. So football was still good. My junior and senior year, I made straight A's junior and senior year. So it picked my GPA up. I ended up graduating with like a 3.4 GPA.
Wow.
And it had to have been struggling from 19th grade. I mean, I was out there. So that just another subject, show you how fast you can help a kid if you really can get a hold and help them. Come back to that later. But anyways, fast forward, got the scholarship to go to Arkansas State. Leaving the state probably saved my life. But when I got to campus, all of a sudden, it was the pressure of being a little kid. I mean, a small fish in a big pond again. Mm-hmm. So now all that, I need to prove myself, and all that.
It's almost like you're back in the neighborhood.
Yes.
And you have to establish yourself on the block.
All over again.
And although football's in the background, you still have to kind of, what a lot of people don't realize is, like, I went to the University of Michigan. The world of football and the world of campus are two different worlds. Mm-hmm. You have to make your name for yourself on the team, but you also have to make a name for yourself in the school, because ultimately those two pieces come to a head. So you got to campus, you saw the bright lights, people came at you.
Fell back into all the stuff that I had, moved away from. I moved away from the drugs, moved away from the party and stuff. But now trying to establish my respect again, I fell back into a lot of those things. And then at the end of my freshman year, the summer, I was back. I ended up going to jail. Me and one of my teammates were participating in a Ponzi scheme that we had figured out on our football team of going up and finding a way to steal extra groceries. So we would pay for
Wow.
$20 in the self checkout, but we would get like $100 worth of groceries. I mean, it was just some cats being mischievous and hungry. So people understand about the athlete life in college.
Right. What went through your mind though when you were in jail?
Listen, if you would have saw,
I want to know what voice. I want to know what voice went off then, because right now you told me you had the one strike, okay, then you had the second strike.
Strike three.
Right.
That's
so
what strike three.
Now this is strike three, and usually in the world, right, we all say that strike three and you're out.
That's grace. That's the grace of the Lord right there, and that's the grace of God. So that's how I know I'm on mission for Him, because He reminded me there. This was strike three. I told you would be in jail, but the verse, what it told me back then was you're gonna be in jail for a long time. So He gave me he didn't lie. Strike three was definitely
he gave
me a little grace. This was my last chance. You better get it right now, brother. Listen, so in there, I mean, the thing besides knowing that strike three was my mom's voice in my mind. She was like, "Whatever you do, don't lose this scholarship." This is before I played a snap. I redshirted my first year, so I didn't play. So this is going to summer before my redshirt freshman year, and like I haven't played. Well, first game is on ESPN, so like I think I just lost my scholarship. That's all I'm in jail thinking. My scholarship. When I leave here, I'm going back to Mississippi, and my life is over. That's all I'm thinking about. But my coach gave me another chance. He told me to go out and run heels. I ran for like 6 hours, just heels, so I could stay on the team. And after that, the guy, our team chaplain, for whatever reason, started spending one-on-one time with me. And when he started spending one-on-one time with me, he started taking me back to my roots from being with my grandmother but now I knew about God. I knew who Jesus was, and I thought I had all the answers. I thought it was just live more right than wrong. But he really started pouring into my life, teaching me the word, teaching me the gospel, and I ended up giving my life to Christ, and my perspective shift that I was no longer living for myself, but living for Him. And I've been on mission ever since.
God is good indeed. You're preaching, and I love your experiences, because we've all had those one strike, two strike, those graceful moments where we've seen that unseen hand sort of pull us back and show us what might happen and give us that last glimmer of opportunity. So, Lindsay said, that's amazing. This truly amazing, and it's truly a gift that you've been given. But I guess as I'm thinking about the stuff that you're doing around the Players Coalition and stuff that you're involved in around First Step Act, I wonder, did that one experience in jail, or the things that you've seen through incarceration and the bail system, that like really open up your eyes to some more of the injustices that are happening in this world?
Yeah, when you realize, initially it didn't. I didn't connect the dots. But you hear mass incarceration is a problem, and you understand the context of how urban communities have been impacted just throughout American history, right? What mass incarceration is, that social injustice of the day. And so I'm like, okay, I want to get involved in that. But when I started to get involved and look inside the system and seeing how it was working, you realize how lives are being radically transformed in a negative way because of how the criminal justice system is set up. Now, I didn't understand how cash bail system worked. And that's why I'm so happy that Player Coalition gets groups like Stand Together and like on diversion programs and things like that. And so what I started to understand was, in the criminal justice space, this cash bail, the only reason I had a $10,000 bill. Now I ain't have
the bail was $10,000?
The bail for me and my teammate that got caught was, we spent 3 days in jail, and bail was $10,000. Wow. Before we went to jail for the 3 days, we got to get out because we paid bail. So we just waited till our court date. Now, $10,000. So our coach came and paid the bail for both of us to get out. Now, if I would not have been a student athlete, the way this works is, if I hadn't been a student athlete and I didn't have coach pay the money, my mom didn't have $10,000. I ain't got $10,000. Where that money gonna come from? So I'm gonna be sitting there. And do you realize that people are sitting in jail for 6 and 7 months? They don't have a court date, but they can't pay their bail, so they're sitting there.
Right.
and the lack of speedy trials keeps them in there. And so you have making people spend 6-7 month sentences in jail. And then when you tell them to take a plea deal, you take this plea deal, you can go home. Well, even if I'm innocent, I'm so ready to go home. I've been in jail for 7 months. You think I'm not going to sign the plea deal? So you take the plea deal. Now you got something on your record that's going to follow you. So you could have got convicted of a misdemeanor and you plead to a felony just to get out. And now you're a part of the system. And now, so when you get, every time you get pulled over, you get ready to go get a job, you got felon on your record. So you see how the system affects people. My life could have been radically transformed if I didn't have sports.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know me as this Demario Davis. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to get out, spend time with the guy who changed my life, you know, end up getting drafted, change, you know, all this, and then being able to be an impact. So you realize how much the system are affecting lives of people who could be so productive, but it's also, we ended up like derailing them, and that derails society indirectly.
Yeah, I significantly remember like a time in my life when I was 18 years old, and my father, you know, fortunate enough, I spent a lot of time with him. He said, you know, if I kept acting the same way that I was acting, I'd either end up in jail or dead. So I can identify with that experience that you went through, and how it transforms people, and that's been a consistent aspect of your life, consistently transforming yourself. You take these little nuggets, sometimes you get set back, but you keep moving forward, and you recognize where you have a strong place in this world, and moving into the world of NFL. And I'm going to pause real quick because I want to get into this NFL, but I also want to get into the Players Coalition because people got to know about it.
Yes.
For everybody that's joining right now, Demario Davis, thank you again. Dhani Jones here for Stand Together Live, and we're helping raise awareness around hashtag Give Together Now. If you can give capital, go to givetogethernow.org. You can also give an act of kindness, and as long as you hashtag Give Together Now, we'll be able to pick it up on the Stand Together side, and we'll be able to distribute the $500 to the families that are truly in need. We've raised over $43 million to this point and helped 87,000 families. Yeah. And even thinking about it from your side, you might have even been one of those families growing up. So I know how much this means to you. So you move on to this, you go through Arkansas State, your coach helps you out, you see these injustices while being in jail, you understand sort of the power of the system and how it can put a strangle on so many people. Then you come into the league at Player Coalition, and you become a player, right? You go to Jets, Cleveland Jets, New Orleans Saints, and you use that platform in order to propel yourself in support by Player Coalition. Explain a little bit more about Player Coalition and, of course, their involvement in prison reform. Yeah,
well, in short, Player Coalition is a group of people, a group of athletes who are coming together to help, impact communities that have been impacted negatively. And 3 pillars that we work on is criminal justice reform, education, economic disparity, and police accountability and community engagement. And so those are the pillars that we really work on. And so specifically the criminal justice reform, I think is unique because now we're seeing the power of all these collaborations, right? You have the athletes and the entertainers. We've been able to collaborate with entertainers as well, because that's the voice, right? That's the voice. And to be able to reach people who are watching, to be able to just don't be entertained by a crowd, just entertained by a crowd when there are injustices happening around the world. Let's turn some attention and some of that light over here to talk about that. But using platforms responsibly, and then being able to partner with groups like Stand Together to work on like stuff like diversion programs and criminal justice reform. And it's such a need for it, but not only is it a need, we're no longer just talking about it. We're no longer just identifying and talking about it. Like, we are actually changing things.
Yes.
And we have the power to do so, and do so effectively, quickly, because of the power of collaboration. Well, when you bring resources, you bring talent, you bring a connection and a voice into the same room, things change. Things change rapidly. These are not people that don't have connections and don't have power. These are people, like when it's just the advocacy groups crying from the ground, they can ignore it. But when you have athletes and entertainers amplifying their voice, and then you're able to put power and resources behind it to scale things, change rapidly.
That is exactly the win-win scenario that we talk about all the time and stand together. And that's why I love, like, you know, yourself, Anquan Bolden, Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, you all are standing up in a way that I think a lot of people have always said, like, how come players don't do something about it? And it was not too long ago that someone said that, you know, I'm just an athlete, or somebody said just shut up and dribble, or someone said, you know, don't take a knee. You know, there's a lot of people that said a lot of different things, and you guys decided to come together as a community of players, which we love to stand together, and leverage your platform to create this win-win scenario in order to amplify the injustices that are happening in this world. One of the things that you said, and I love this quote, is like, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. And I think 90% of your time has been focused on, how do I make the world better?
Yeah, I mean, even what you're talking about with, like, Malcolm and Q, like, I applaud their leadership, because bringing a bunch of alpha males together is not easy.
Right.
And those guys have just been steady and calm to be able to weather all those different attitudes, be like, listen, we're going this way, you know. And so after all the noise and being able, and I mean, they get praised on one end and catch flack on another, you know. And so, and then you got all the dynamics of all the players working together, like, we need to do this, we need to do this. And those guys have just been chill to keep us steady and calm to go forward. And so, like, that's why we've been able to mobilize in such a way where now we're in a position to be able to, bringing in other athletes in different sports, being able to create all those collaboration partnerships like this. But ultimately, it's to be able to do the work. It's so much work that needs to be done in communities. And like you said, life is 10%. What happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. That all that means is life is going to happen, regardless. Like, pandemic, you know, it's going to happen. Stuff that you don't expect is constantly going to happen to you. Everybody is going to face some type of adversity. It's not if it comes, it's when it comes. And it's all about your perspective. The first thing that happens is your mindset. It's your mindset. Like, do you see this as an obstacle, or do you see it as an opportunity? Pandemic, this is a huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity to change the world for good.
D Nice would say right now, let it breathe. I want everybody to hear what Demario just said, you know, and I want you to let it breathe. This is an opportunity, right? And this is a time in our life, we call it the 2020 moment, where we'll be able to look through the glass and figure out what we were able to do during these moments. But you've been working on a lot of stuff during prison reform nationally. But why is it also important for you to work on it locally in Mississippi?
Mississippi is my home. One thing that my grandmother taught me was never forget where you come from, and always take care of your people. You know, and so Mississippi is my home. That's where I was birthed, and Mississippi is. It wavers now. It's not all 50th, but in health, we've generally been 50th in health, 50th in education, and 50th in economy. So if I can go and help other places, how can I help, you know, the place I'm from that's in last place? You know, that's not gonna be right. But also it's the perspective thing, right? It's an opportunity, because I feel like if change can happen in Mississippi, who is in last place, it can happen anywhere.
Yes.
Right. And so, and everything what you see is all models are easily replicated once you create a good one. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If it works over here, nine times out of 10, you can tweak things to make it, you know, customize it to this location. It's going to work there too. And so that's what I'm able to see. You know, we have wins in New York when I was there, wins in New Orleans. And so those same wins carry over to Mississippi. And it's been unique. And that's why I was doing my work first before I got on with the Players Coalition. You know, before Player Coalition really took off, I was just doing Devoted Dreamers in Mississippi. And so that's kind of how that worked out.
So I want to remind everybody, you know, as we're kind of winding down our interview, like I said, I appreciate so much you're able to spend so much time. We're going to be answering some questions. So everybody that's out there, throughout those questions, we're going to ask Demario in a couple of seconds. But, you know, continue down that path. You've done so much. Devoted Dreamers Foundation, working with United Way and EverFi. You're doing so much with the Players Coalition. what are you most proud of? It just seems like you've led players on the field. You know, you've been a captain. You know, there's a lot of things that you can say. You know, I was a part of this. I helped make this happen. What are you most proud
Um, I don't know. I don't really feel like it's been a lot. So when you say like you've done so much, like to me, it doesn't feel like that, you know, because I'm just constantly looking at the work that needs to be done. I'm looking at on this end, I'm looking at all these youth that have so much talent, but they need resources around them to help them get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
People pour into them. Like I see young me in them. And so I see what they can become. I don't see where they are. And then when I'm looking over here and I'm looking at the criminal justice system and I'm like, man, it's this little cycle that's going on over here, and these people can't break this cycle. It's like get out of jail, go back, get out of jail, go back, stay in jail, stay in jail, stay in jail. That kid goes to jail, stay in jail. It's a cycle and it's repeating itself. And I'm like, man, if we can just break this cycle, all these people can go free. And so like I'm just constantly looking at that. And so that's why I'm always just working. I guess it's kind of like my mom, who, you know, once I made it to the league, she couldn't turn it off. Now I've just been working so much that's all I see. I just see the work that needs to be done. And so like this time it's encouraging because now I'm seeing so many other people, you know, kind of joining in the fight. And it's amazing because all these collaborations are happening, you know, in the partnership here, you know, Player Coalition and Stand Together. You see a lot of collaboration helping in the education space, you know, like, and what needs to happen there is like innovative education. You got to be different. You know, it's like you can't use the same models to reach the youth that used to be used. Just all this just state testing and train them for the test. You're not teaching them nothing. They need life skills. And so if that has to happen in school, they have to happen in out of school programs, like what we do, that's what needs to be going on. So I'm just constantly looking at the work. The only thing I think that I guess I could say that I'm really proud of is just my relationship with God. Like I know I'm solid there. So at the end of the day, I'm good. But other stuff, I mean, I don't know. I don't see it as like I've done a lot. There's so much work that needs to be done.
Well, one of the things that God has given you is, you know, we went through those, you know, those several strikes, but ultimately He's giving you that second chance. He's giving you that second chance in life, and you've given second chances to so many other people. And so I wrote down this question, so I want to make sure I ask it specifically because I know this is really important. You know, what's unique and impactful about the contributions that those who are formerly incarcerated can have once they're released? I wanted to make sure I asked that question exactly as it's written. Yeah, but what's unique and impactful about that? Those have been recently released and what they've been able to give back.
Yeah, it's almost I say it like this: the best place I've seen it done is New Orleans, and I've been able to have opportunity to work with Vote Nola. It's the voice of the experienced, and the people who founded it, the people who run it, are all people who have been affected by the criminal justice system, who've spent time in jail, spent time with probation officers, parole officers. Like they've all been impacted. People who got their degrees inside of jail. And these are the people who are trying to help change the system, right? So working with them, I can't tell. I wouldn't have nobody who, me and you, we're not going to have somebody who never played a game of football come teach us about football.
Right.
Hey, Demario, Dhani, come do these drills. Let me show you how you can get good. You ain't never played a snap. So how you going to have people, I don't care what kind of educational background. I mean, somebody can go to school to be a coach, to know drills. If you never put your body inside the drills, don't tell me to run 10 sprints. You don't know what 10 sprints feel like. You know, don't tell me to do these cones and get in and out of the breaks if you never had to make them. So it's the same. Like, I don't care what kind of law degree you got, how much time you spent in the criminal justice system. If you've never been impacted by it, you only can know so much. You have to have the people who've been impacted by the system at the table so that they can give you advice, because they're going to tell you stories that you don't know about. They're going to tell you that it's people inside these cells who have degrees, who are teaching people, and they just need more resources. So you don't have to go into the prison and create education programs. Their education programs are already going. just go in and talk to people and ask them how can you scale what they're doing. And then you can take stuff inside. So if one man on his own and pour in resources, you can pour in resources behind him to help, that budget that's going to them prisons that's not being used.
Right.
Pour some of those resources into that inmate to help those other inmates. Now he can teach, 50 students, and then take that same model.
Talk about it.
And take it to other prisons, right? So it can be replicated. You don't have to reinvent it. Now you can go systematically through the whole system. So if you really care and you really want to do this, this is how we go about it. But you have to have the people who are impacted by the system at the table, because they're going to tell you about the corners that you're missing. And they're going to tell you where you're doing it right, and they're going to tell you where you're doing it wrong. And so you have to have them. And so like in New Orleans, that's where I seen that. So I would never work in a criminal justice reform space anywhere else if there's nobody that's impacted by the system at the table. Because like guys like Norris, can't draw a blank on his last name, Robert Jones, people who have been incarcerated and affected by the system, those guys have taught me so much. And then you see that genuineness. I mean, they really care about people who are I have had family members who've been impacted by the system also, but I don't have nobody that's currently there, right? And they have like people that are, how you have, culturally, everybody that's in your neighborhood, like your cousin, right? And your brother.
Yes.
You become friends a long time. That's my brother. I mean, they have brothers who are in jail, like 50 and hundreds of them, right? Because those were people who they related with when they were in there. And so like every time they look into people, I mean, those guys have so much respect from people who are impacted by the system. Like they don't want to just talk to a lawyer. They want to talk to a lawyer that Norris and Robert recommend. Like, give me somebody who knows what I'm saying and understands me. So you can't help people who are impacted by the system, because they're going to look at you and be like, you can't relate. Just like we talk about this all the time in the NFL. Only certain guys can come into our room and talk to us.
Yes.
Like I remember when Stephen A came in there and talked to us. And this man, everybody would love for Stephen A to come talk to him. But everybody like, why Stephen A here? You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, just if you
get back on the radio.
You know what I'm saying?
TV.
Get back to your lane.
Don't come out here and tell me what to do on the field. I know what to do on the field.
Right. So that's how it is. And so that's how the same way you're going to be treated. So we're going in trying to help people. They're going to be wanting to look around to see who they can relate to. And even though I spent 3 days, I know the system a little bit, I haven't been impacted like some of these people. Like 3 days ain't going to stand up to nobody who's been in jail for years or months even. So that's where you have to think, like, those people are very important to be at the table.
Let it breathe.
Let it breathe.
You know what? This is one of the most powerful conversations that we've been able to have through Stand Together Live, and we've been able to talk to a lot of important people. But one of the things that you were quoted as being as a true humanitarian, and you really are. And I'm proud of you for all the work that you've done, and for making that impact, and for changing the lives of so many people that are out there. Your work through the Player Coalition, United Way, your work through Devoted Dreamers Foundation. I mean, you do really impact people on the field, but it's what you do off the field that truly defines who you are as a man. So I just want to say that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. And being an old head coming from the NFL, I just look and I just feel like I can talk to you forever. But I want to give people an opportunity, an audience, to ask you a couple questions. Tina Turner, she asks, what are your,
real Tina Turner?
she asked what you're most proud of on and off the field. We just said in terms of like off the field, but what about on the field? Because I know we didn't talk anything about football. What are you most proud about on the field?
I think the most proud moment I've had a lot of proud moments inside the NFL, but probably my most proud moment was winning the first conference championship in my college's history. Like, that was huge. I mean, we were like average 6-6 team at best. But our senior year, we had a coach who came in and electrified us, and we ended up sweeping the conference, undefeated in the conference, finishing like 10-3, winning the conference. And I mean, now that our school has won 6 conference championships since I've graduated, and so like you see the power of change. Like,
yes,
you get over the hump it's just a whole new world. It's, it's like the 4-minute mile. Nobody felt like nobody could run the 4-minute mile until that one person broke it, and then everybody breaking it like the next week. And so it's just like once you get over the hump, it just changes things, and that's where we at, in society. Like if we can just get over the hump, it'll snowball. And so, on the field, college, that because seeing how that trajectory played out long term, it wasn't just winning it, but what that meant for the school was just huge.
Joey Ka, Lou 19. It's amazing all these different handles that people have on Instagram. I can't even read them. All right, so what's the first thing? Yeah, what's the first thing you bought your mom, or what's the first thing? I'll change it because they asked what's the first thing you bought your mom when you made it to the league. But I want to change that because we're not. I don't know if we're really here to talk about material things.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
What's the first thing you did for your mother? What's the first act of kindness that you provided to your mother when you got into the league? Because it was probably the first time where you were able to kind of give something back. What did you do?
Paid off for student loans. That was the first thing. And to know the backstory of that, like my mom, I remember when I got my college scholarship, I didn't know what a football scholarship was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't know like you needed money to get there. It means and so I didn't understand that. Like the coach was like, "Yeah, you get a full ride scholarship." I'm like, "What that mean?" And he was like, "You don't have to pay for college." And so I went home and told Mom, like, "Mom, I got a full scholarship." She started crying, and years later, I ended up finding out she was crying not just because I was getting ready to go to college, because she was dreading me having to go to college and live under the burden of those student loans that she had been living with since she had finished. So here I am, 18, getting ready to go to school. So remember, she came and picked me up and had finished college, where she had collected a whole lot of debt. And there's so many people in our country find themselves in that same hump. So, and that's a burden that follows them for a long time. I mean, it's worse. You get a house, you got a 20-year mortgage. Well, that's cool. You stay in there, so you pay your mortgage. But them student loans follow you probably past your house, and that's crazy. And so being able to pay that, my wife and I had read this book, from Dave Ramsey, about living debt free. And so I would encourage everybody to try to get there first. Like don't be out on credit, but that's a whole nother story. But so like paying off her student loans was like huge. And I mean, now my mom's able to a lot of other things as transparent. She able to be financially independent, and that was just mostly financially free and financially independent were the biggest things that I wanted to do for moms. But moms don't require too much, man. That's mom, man. That's like
mom loves you.
Yeah, man. That's like my guardian angel.
She just wants her son to be happy. One question just for me, I've read a lot of stuff, and and we only have like, I know that time's getting limited and we're probably going to get cut off, but I want to, because I can keep going down this path, this conversation, because everybody in the background, I know how you're hearing it like I am and letting it breathe. Do you feel you need to be, there's a quote that you used, like you didn't feel like you need to be recognized. Like, why? Like, why do you feel like you deserve credit? You deserve so much of this credit, but at the same time, you live this life of humility where you don't need to take the credit. You just want to do. Where does that come from?
I think it's a couple of things. One, I think it's a kind of an undertone of understanding that the chances of me being highly recognized is slim to none because of what I represent. Because I truly think I've been sitting here kind of as a messenger, right? I've seen both sides. I've seen the poor side and I've seen the rich side, and I'm able to call it straight down the middle because I was able to live in the hood but leave out of the hood without being it tainting my mentality. So you know how they say you can take the boy out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the boy. For some reason, God gave me the ability to be there but leave without having that hood mentality. And also the same way, I've been able to be on the rich side and not be caught up in the materialistic the material side of it all. So I'm able to look at both sides and call it straight down the middle. Well, that's not what people necessarily want to hear. Like, people want those people in the hood to think a certain way, right? And so you need to keep them to a certain degree. So when there's a messenger who's going to wake people up, like, it's just the way it is. And so I understand that, right? But also, it's much more important for me to be significant than be recognized, because I want to leave an impact on those who I deal with. I would love to have a huge platform so that the message could go forth, not because of me, not so all eyes on me, like, oh yeah, just more fame, more recognition. Like, that just means more problems and more stress and more people that you are accountable to, right? But that's not what it's for. I just want people to be able to get the message, because it's real. Like, it's real. It's thorough, and it's, and that's just all credit to God. It's almost like Solomon in the Bible. Solomon wrote Ecclesiastics, which tell you everything in the world is vain. How did he do that? Because he had it all, but God also gave him a double portion of wisdom. So he had more money than anybody ever have, more materials than anybody ever have, and got to experience everything under the sun. He got the experience, but he had the wisdom to process it all. That's what's in the book of Ecclesiastes. It's just telling you everything in the world and the sun except God is vain, right? And so I've been in both worlds and been able to process it all, and that's the message I'm able to put out. Like, you leaving all these people over here hurting. Yeah, you got this materialistic lifestyle and you want to post it on Instagram, but it's people out here hurting right beside you. What are you going to do? Like, that's what you're going to really be measured by. And everybody don't want to hear that. So I want that message to go forth to all platforms, right? But I'm cool if it only goes to one individual. I'm cool with that. If that one person can process that message and take it forward, I'm good. It got to who it was intended for. And that's all I want to do. Is I want the man upstairs to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. So whatever people he put around me to be impacted, the people he give the ears to hear that message, I'm cool. I'm cool.
Woo. Demario, thank you. That was we all appreciate that, and I know everybody that's watching today through Stand Together Live appreciates those words, and they're passing them on to those that need it. And if you need it, receive it. Demario came here to give you a nugget of hope that you too can change, and you too can find, even through your third strike, your second chance. And you can utilize your platform of the greatest game in the world in order to affect the change of so many people through Players Coalition. And you can educate people, through Devoted Dreamers Foundation. And you can help people regardless. And you can be a messenger as you have been. So Demario, I want to say thank you for everybody else that's out there. This is what it's all about. And it's about those little nuggets of hope and truth. And this is about raising awareness around hashtag Give Together Now. I hope everybody feels encouraged. I hope everybody's able to go to givetogethernow.org. You're able to give an act of kindness. Remember that 100% of proceeds go to people that are in need. It's $500 cash increments, if you will. Next week on Stand Together Live, we keep it rolling. Demario, I want you to come back, but next week we've got SportsCenter anchor Jay Harris from ESPN, Thursday, May 7th at 1 p.m. for everybody out there. Demario, once again, thank you so much. Hopefully you are able to spend a little bit more time with us, because your words, truer words have never been spoken, period. And you keep being a messenger, you keep being a captain, you keep being a leader, you keep being a humanitarian, you keep being who you are, and we're all proud of you. So thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for your support of Give Together Now.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you, man, and all you doing.
All right, I'll talk to you later.